Stephen, there's no doubt about it. The pound, is plunging. There has been immediate reaction to Raab's resignation.
Yeah, that's right. It was really within almost seconds of we having the news that Dominic Raab had resigned from the British cabinet. Now, sterling is the lightning rod for all news Brexit. It's where investors tend to react first, and the plunge in the pound was fairly dramatic when it did happen. The pound was trading before this at around $1.30. That was after a slight boost once the deal had been announced, but now it's down over 1%, down close, just under $1.28, close to the lowest level that it's been so far this year. Cent moves sound very small when you talk about currencies, but in percentage terms, it's actually quite a big move for a currency. We've seen a similar fall for the pound against the euro in trading as well, down from €1.15 to around €1.13, and that trajectory is continuing to fall as time goes on. To give you an idea, the pound dollars, the lowest level of the year was 127, the highest was 142, so it's been a pretty big fall as it's been obvious that the negotiations weren't going the UK's way in the run-up to getting that withdrawal agreement. Now, in the stock markets, the picture is slightly different, and that's what we should expect, because the FTSE 100 in London is actually trading up, and that's because most of the companies listed on the FTSE 100 are exporters, so a weaker pound is actually good news for them. So we have gains on the FTSE 100 in London. Paris and Frankfurt are trading in the red, but British banks are getting a hammering on the markets now. We've seen sharp falls in the shares of RBS and Lloyds. They're both down over 6% in London. So any companies that are focused on the domestic market are seeing sharp falls, but those exporters getting a bit of a boost from the weaker sterling, which of course makes their goods cheaper to trade abroad.
Now, Stephen, this is a 585-page document. For those who haven't quite got round to reading it all yet, is it a good draft deal when it comes to business?
I'm on about page 303, I think, at my last count. But business groups have been reacting to this. There is clarity in it, which is what many of them had been calling for. The reaction from most of those business groups is quite I suppose, muted or cautious. This is the CBI, which is Britain's biggest business lobby group. They say it's a compromise, offering essential transition period as a step back from a cliff edge. Elsewhere in that statement, they referred to it as a precipice of a no-deal Brexit. They say they're a step away from that with this agreement. Of course, the state of that agreement now very much in doubt. The British Chambers of Commerce, the BCC, also reacting in a similar vein, a cautious welcome to what happened, saying that they will need clarity, though, and precision on the specific terms of trade they'll face in the future, many of which are still to be agreed. But the avoidance of sudden changes is good news for confidence and business investment, reflecting this idea that trade under the transition agreement, nothing changes until the end of the transition period, which is the end of 2020, which gives the UK time to negotiate a trade deal with the European Union. And of course, the idea being that deal could be concluded before they get to the end of the transition period, and the rules would change much more dramatically for businesses. It gives all of them much more time to prepare for what might come next. Of course, if this deal now survives, which, as we said, is very much in doubt.